Everyone, I'm Lee Wallace, Head of Safety Training, Environment and Engineering Policy at Western Power Distribution. I'm really pleased to have been asked to speak to you today about power and improvement. As an advocate and member of the Power and Improvement Steering Committee, it really is an honour to be able to be here today at this launch event for the 2021 through to 25 initiatives, but also to be able to reflect my experience and WPD's experience of power and improvement. I think for us, it's such an important strategy that's recognised nationally, not only by the companies who are members of the ENA, from transmission through to supply organisations, but also, by the government, by the regulators, and most importantly by our trade union colleagues. And having that credibility is really critical to its success and the success that we've bred over its last 10 years. And I'm sure we will succeed in the next 5 years in achieving our aims of achieving zero reportable accidents or injuries and improving the health and well-being of our staff, whilst recognising as well the small e in the environmental impacts of our work activities. So I guess the first point I'd like to make is just to reflect upon the last 5 years and think about power and improvement 2015 to 2020. For me, as a member of the steering group, clearly, I have an interest, and at WPD we use power and improvement as an opportunity or as a template around which we can wrap our safety, health, and often our environmental internal campaigns. So our frontline staff might not recognise necessarily the power and improvement banner, but they will be able to recognise the campaigns that we launch to support the power and improvement initiatives. And that's not a bad thing. I think you can have too many labels, and the important thing for organisations is to be able to have a strapline that works for them. So, for example, Switch On to Safety, which is WPD's sort of headline strapline for keeping our people safe, is something that's been arisen from power and improvement. And Switched On to Health, another initiative in WPD, came out of the 2016 Managing Occupational Health campaigns. On reflection, I think it's probably sensible to look at each of the 15 to 20 years, talk about the initiatives that WPD launched, and then also perhaps just look forward to 2021 to 2025. I think in doing so, though, we need to be mindful that we have been in the middle of a pandemic for the last 18 months, and the important point to that is that the numbers and the sort of health statistics that we've seen, and I think we've seen nationally, have certainly shown a downturn in occupational health issues over that period of time. And I think it's a really interesting statistic that, that nationally, when you look at those figures and you speak to colleagues, those trends are the same. So short-term illness through to mental health, stress-related illness, certainly those numbers have fallen through the COVID pandemic. And as organisations, we need to be reflecting upon that, upon those figures, and recognising what's changed, what's driven that downturn. Our current thinking in WPD is that there's certainly the work-life balance, people working more from home, and having home working lives that are more balanced has helped with that. And it's certainly something as an organisation that we're considering, and how we can embed a better working environment for those people who are able to work from home more regularly, but also recognising that there are a lot of colleagues who that isn't an option for them, and they have to come into the workplace and have continued to do so throughout the COVID pandemic. And one thing I would really like to say is, hats off to those people who I see us as a fourth blue light service. We continue to keep the lights on for our customers, and that's not without the support of our staff going into and continuing to work through what has been a very challenging period of time for us. Just going back to 2015 then, working with contractors for WPD and the opportunities that brought. That year, really, at WPD, we'd identified a concerning trend in 2015. Our contractor lost time accidents had peaked in 2013 at around 33 lost time accidents, which was a lot for a company that has support from contractor organisations around our dig and lay and overhead line activities and some of the smaller areas, but that's generally direct employee based, 6,500 employees. We started to be concerned that trend was heading in the wrong direction. So in WPD, what we did, we started to run a series of contractor safety conferences. And that was really helpful to us. We ran 4 per annum and engaged our contractors in each of our licence areas. Now, some of those organisations are larger than us, and when we recognised there was an opportunity for WPD to learn from our contractor organisations, and also to share with them some of the learning that we were getting back from nationally, from Powering Improvements, and certainly from the interaction between organisations. Because the one thing that safety does bring, it brings a collaborative and an informative and a sharing approach. I mentioned COVID, and that's really been a critical part of that. But back to the contractor point, for our contractors, getting them engaged, giving them the view of our expectations and our aspirations, but also sharing with them some of the learning from the safety events that we'd had, and getting some learning back from them, letting them speak at our conferences was a really important thing, and we've continued to do that. And actually currently, whilst we've continued with our conferences in a COVID secure environment in 2019-20, we will be ensuring that going forward that those conferences, which were predominantly just contractor only, are now engaging our own staff and contractors at the same conferences. So it's iterations and learning as we go forward. 2016, managing occupational health, really important strategy. Health has come to the forefront, and certainly mental health was a really key part of that. And I know Jeff Earl led that really well from a national perspective, and we were really pleased to be engaged over that. So we came up with our occupational health roadmap, which certainly is something that all organisations are able to dip in and out of, and give some great opportunities and support mechanisms that anybody can use. From WPD's perspective, it was a chance to reset the milestone, or reset the targets for us, and think about our mental health strategy and what we could do to help those people within our organisations who are struggling with mental health, but also to provide training to those people who are in a position to be able to recognise the challenges that were in place, and put in place the structures and support mechanisms that could reduce the impact of mental health on our workforce. That's not an insignificant statement to make. It's a really challenging thing, and there are further opportunities in 2021 going forward, I think, to really raise the profile. If COVID taught us anything, the impact on our staff, upon being locked down, upon their mental health and their well-being is really critical going forward, and it's important that we build on that 2016 year and continue to enhance the policies, procedures and processes and support mechanisms that are in place to help our people. 2017, asset management, another really challenging and interesting area for us. The industry's built upon experience, and our distribution safety rules are built upon the knowledge and foundations of others. So understanding how we manage our assets, and also recognising that the good asset management processes and procedures were really critical to us in WPD, which was a fundamental part of that year. So we ran a series of workshops with our planning and construction and design colleagues. We invited external speakers to those meetings to give them their feedback, and a lot of national sharing of information. And I'm sure Jeff won't mind me talking about Beighton Burrows, which happened in the northwest, sorry, and that certainly was one that we shared with our staff to understand, the impact of when we get things wrong and what the drivers are. So Phil Swift, our chief exec, he led that year, and we continue to share and manage and use the corporate memory from that year that's been really helpful to us. 2018 was human and organisational factors, and for us the important part around human and organisational factors was understanding really what our staff were thinking. So in 2018 we launched our independent climate safety survey, and that really gave us a foundation to understand where our staff were. As 4 licence areas, when you've got that diversity of culture and diversity of organisation, you can take a perspective that could give you lead you down the wrong path. So the climate safety survey really gave us a foundation to build upon, and it was really interesting the results that we had. That the perception that we may be far apart in terms of aspirations and expectations was unfounded, really. And the independent auditor Peter McCormick, a number of you will know, identified that actually that we weren't that far apart in terms of safety expectations. We scored really well in terms of training and competency and knowledge and that kind of area, and there was more to do in terms of our organisation and how we could build upon a really great foundation. And we've developed a 32-point action plan on the back of that year, which we're now virtually through. We've run a further series of workshops in 2020 to understand how those actions have been received. Feedback was really positive. And we're looking to further enhance that with a few more actions for this year. We're planning in 2022 to run another climate safety survey with our staff, because we think that really will help us to set the milestones and set the direction for us going forward. Looking forward then for the next 5 years, the critical part for WPD is to continue to engage. It's great to recognise and see that in our plans for 2021 onwards that the industry has recognised that we are, whilst working together, our different parts. Energy UK have different drivers to the transmission companies, as do the distribution companies have different drivers often to Energy UK. So we've got the wherewithal within the current plan, the strategic direction to flex and build different programs that suit each of those specific areas. So for me, in closing, thank you for the opportunity to speak to you. I'm really, really pleased and happy to have been asked to have taken part. I hope the brief overview that I've given you of a DNO's perspective ticks a number of boxes, but recognises that that's my view and that's WPD's view, and there are other parts of this industry that would have different views. It's great to be working collaboratively with our trade unions, our regulator and the companies through the ENA to support what is and continues to be an excellent initiative. Thank you and stay safe.